Donald Trump yesterday coming to the defense of Tom Brady, and Donald Trump joins us live right now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Pretty clear where you stand on the Mr. Brady business.
Well, he's a good friend of mine, and he's a great guy. And it's a shame that this had to go on. This could have been settled a long time ago, and I think the NFL wouldn't settle it. And they lost and spent tens of millions of dollars on legal fees. It's hard to believe. I looked at the numbers; it was crazy what they spent. But it's a very sad thing. And Tom is such a great guy, and hopefully they can settle it now, cut it in half, and get back to business.
He's a great guy, and he's a great quarterback. Probably going to play till he's 45, and everyone will forget about it. So let's move to what you have now, and you have a game to win, and that is a primary. And you have to do it really against a new alliance, Cruz and Kasich. They have seemed to combine forces against you, at least in 3 separate states. But you, I know, commented on the plan they put together. Doesn't seem to be executed too well. Here's an example of the two coming together, kinda.
It is big news today that John Kasich has decided to pull out of Indiana to give us a head-to-head contest with Donald Trump. That is good for the men and women of Indiana. It's good for the country.
I don't see this as any big deal, other than the fact that I'm not going to spend resources in Indiana. He's not going to spend them in other places. So what? What's the big deal?
So who should your supporters vote for in Indiana?
Well, I've never told them not to vote for me. They ought to vote for me.
What do you think of their plan, Donald Trump?
Well, I think it's collusion. I think it's pathetic. It makes them both look weak. They were both doing very badly. They're losing by millions of votes to me. You know, and the voters, especially with the votes, I'm winning by millions and millions of votes, and it could be by 5 or 6 million votes by the time it's all over. So that's very important. I'm winning by hundreds of delegates, and you take a look at Kasich. He's only, like we call him, 1 for 42. He's won 1 state out of 42 contests. Okay. So it's he's just a guy hanging in. If you look at Dr. Ben Carson, who's a great guy who endorsed me, he was doing much better than Kasich. He could have said, I'm going to stay in, I don't care. Or look at Rubio, or look at Christie, or look at, I think even Jeb was doing much better. But this is just a guy, he keeps losing, and he stays in. And honestly, Lion Ted is a disaster. Everything he says is so dishonest. So many things he'll talk about me, and it's so dishonest, and it's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe, actually. But it makes him look weak.
Well, I saw one of the Kasich canvassers saying yesterday that Cruz and Kasich probably should have kept this alliance quiet because they've been talking to a number of the voters trying to get out the vote today, and particularly next week in Indiana. Some of the voters have switched to Trump because of it. So do you see this potentially backfiring on them?
Well, I think so. When I first heard about it, I said, you got to be kidding. They're not going to do that. That's going to make them look very weak. It looks like collusion. And it proves my words that it's a rigged system. You see, it's a rigged system. These are 2 insiders. They get together. They want to rig the system against the guy that's going to make America great again. I mean, I'm going to make great trade deals, which they don't want because they want to protect the people on the other side of those deals who don't care about the country. They want the deals to be good. And there's so many things happening, but it is a rigged system. It's in certain ways it's corrupt, and people are understanding it. The whole delegate system is a sham. But despite that, I'm winning by a lot of delegates, and I'm winning by millions of votes. So, that's it's like the fighter. You have to go into the ring and knock them out.
And the polls say you're supposed to have a big day. But I got to ask you, we talked about on the show when Paul Manafort and others get hired, when you moved along, you were going to change your approach a little bit. But yet on the stump yesterday, you were talking about John Kasich's eating and Lion Ted and all the other things. Does Paul Manafort not like that, as he's a guy with experience that you just hired to help you wrangle delegates and move you towards the general? What is his reaction? Because you were very honest with us. You said Melania was not happy with some of the things you said on the stump. What about Manafort?
Well, I know he's very happy. He can't believe. Yesterday I had a full stadium in Pennsylvania. I had 2 full stadiums in Pennsylvania. And in Rhode Island, it was unbelievable. It was like a love fest. It's always like a love fest. We have thousands of people that can't even get into these things. And, the areas that I covered yesterday, it was so incredible. And the polls are looking phenomenal. I just hope everybody goes out and votes because this is really something special. It's a movement. It's really a movement. People are so tired of horrible trade deals, a military that doesn't beat ISIS, that should beat them in a week. Just every single thing we do is wrong. I mean, you look at what's going on. Our taxes are too high. Social Security is being absolutely decimated. They all want to kill Social Security. I'm the only one. We're going to make our country rich. We're going to be able to afford Social Security. And there's just so many. People are so tired and so sick of incompetent politicians. And that's why I'm doing well.
All right, let's talk about the Democrats here, because Hillary Clinton is now saying if she's elected, half of her cabinet will be women. Some are accusing her of pandering to the women. What's your thought on that?
Well, I call her Crooked Hillary because she's crooked, and, the only thing she's got is the woman card. That's all she's got, and it is pandering. And, it's a weak card in her hand. In another person's hands, it could be a very powerful card. Because I'd love to see a woman president, but she's the wrong person. She's a disaster. Remember the famous call at 3 o'clock in the morning? She was sleeping, okay? She was sleeping. It was her ad. Who would you like at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, the phone rang and she was sleeping. She would be a terrible president, and the only thing she's got to play, she's got nothing else to play. She's guilty as hell on the emails. You got Whitewater. Her whole life has been crooked. And you look at the foundation, the whole life, and the only card she's got is to play the woman card. And it may be good enough. Now, a poll came out yesterday where I was essentially even with her, and I haven't focused on her yet.
George Washington poll, within 3 points.
I haven't focused on her yet. Look, I started with 17 people, and one by one we knocked them off. And, very capable people, governors, senators, and one by one we knocked them off. They were, gone. And I haven't focused on her. But when I focus on her, I think you're going to see some very good results. I mean, personally.
What about your cabinet? Would you have women on your cabinet?
Absolutely, I would. I would have women. I would have the most capable people on my cabinet, but I would certainly have women.
Speaking of women, a woman actress by the name of Lena Dunham, she said this yesterday. I know a lot of people have been threatening to do this, but I really will. I know a lovely place in Vancouver. I can get my work done from there. She says she's going to move to Canada, Donald Trump, if you get elected. What's your message to her?
Well, she's a B actor and, has no, mojo. No, I heard Whoopi Goldberg said that, too. That would be a great, great thing for our country. If
we have a list of people. Rosie O'Donnell,
We'll
Al
get rid of Rosie. Oh, I love it.
Jon
now
Stewart,
I have to get elected.
Whoopi.
Now I have to get elected because I'll be doing a great service to our country. I have to. Now it's much more important. In fact, I'll immediately get off this call and start campaigning right now.
All right. So I've got to bring it to this. This morning, Barack Obama talked to Charlie Rose. Here's what he said about putting 250 more special ops into theater to take on ISIS, but not actually fight them. Listen.
Let me start, if I may, about the announcement that you're sending 250 special forces to Syria. What does that represent?
It represents what I've said from the start, which is that us dismantling ISIL is a priority, and although we are not going to be sending ground troops in to fight, we are going to try to find out what works and then double down.
So does that show he's serious, putting 250 special ops in not to fight?
Well, first of all, he shouldn't be announcing it because they have a target on their back. He keeps announcing 250 people, and the enemy, which is not stupid, is now looking for those 250 people. So he shouldn't be announcing it. He's always got to announce when he's sending. 4 months ago it was 50 people. We're sending 50 people. The enemy has a target on them. He ought to be quiet and win this thing, but he can't do that.
What about the rules of engagement?
Look, he is not going, the way he's fighting this war, he is not going to win. It's the wrong attitude. It's the wrong strategy. Everything is wrong with it. Every single thing is wrong with it. You got to knock out ISIS, and you have to knock them out fast. They're chopping off heads. They're drowning people. They're taking over tremendous amounts of territory. They've now taken over the oil in Libya, so they now have some of the finest oil in the world. We're doing nothing about it. You have to knock them out fast.
To knock them out without revealing your strategy.
But you have to be quiet. You have to be unpredictable. You know, we're so predictable. We're sending 250 troops. You have to be unpredictable. Can you imagine, like, General George Patton saying, oh, we're sending this, we're sending that? He wouldn't talk. He'd just knock the hell out of him. It would be over in a week.
Loose lips sink ships. All right, Donald Trump, thank you very much.
Okay.
We know you got a busy day today, and then on to Indiana, where you got Bobby Knight. Thank you, sir. By the way, we should point out, we did invite Governor Kasich on. We did invite Ted Cruz. We invited Hillary Clinton, and we invited Bernie Sanders to be on the program today. Only Donald Trump took us up on the offer.